Hello, everybody. Joe the Lawyer here with a special request. Please like and subscribe because I have a contest going with Eric Tankar. All right. Whoever gets the 5,000 subs first, the guy has to buy the other guy a beautiful steak dinner with all the fixings and, of course, some high-end drinks, and also donate $100 to the other person's favorite charity. So I want to beat his ass. It's a friendly competition. So please click the like, subscribe button, comment, share it around, and help grow the channel. Totally appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. This is Joe the Lawyer from Analog Man Cave, freshly recuperating, actually, still recuperating from my murderous hike through the woods. Check the video I released a couple of days ago about that. It was giving me some good insights, though, into ambushes and whatnot, so it's pretty good. But today's video, if you noticed there, you had Miles Davis, jazz for the OSR, and you had some random white guy with a random white orchestra doing classical music and conducting. And I thought this was a good, I've been using this analogy for a long time. The old school, the OSR, is all about jazz and improv as compared to 5e or the newer system games like Pathfinder or whatnot, even especially like the 3rd edition and all that, where it was just rules for everything. Everything was regimented. Everything had a place. And I've been using this analogy for a long time. A lot of people got a kick out of it, and it made sense to them. And it came to mind again the other day because I did an unboxing video for the Swords and Wizardry expansion. And in there, Matt Finch did an expansion of his absolutely epic primer for old school gaming. I think this thing came out originally in 06 or 08. And it was the first real exposition on what the difference was, what the key critical difference is. It's sort of like there was a judge back in the day who talked about, porn. What is porn? And he says, well, I know when I see it. Right. And so it's the same thing with like the OSR. It's like, it's hard to define. Everybody knows what it is. You're playing an OSR game, but it was really hard to define because OSR didn't even exist as a term back then. It was more like old school gaming. Right. And so Matt put out this primer that described really the essence of what old school games are. And he had within that 4 Zen moments. And by the way, get the new books, guys, Swords and Wizardry. You'll see it in my unboxing. Go to Mythmere Games and pick it up. But he had 4 Zen moments. And the very first one, as I was reading through this again the other day, reminded me of my jazz versus classical music analogy because he really does break it down nicely. So I'm going to read the first paragraph here. I think it'll make some sense to you. He says, the first Zen moment is rulings, not rules. I believe, and this is Matt, I believe that the defining characteristic of an old school game system is that it is improvisational. Played mostly with rulings, not rules. As mentioned above, old school systems don't have many rules for the players to learn. Most of the rules are for the referee, and they are really guidelines, not rules. The referee can choose whether or when to apply these rules, and the players rely on the referee to be impartial when doing so. That's a big deal, right? So that is a big thing. When you think about it, 5e, there's a rule for everything. How do you move? Well, let me look it up. Where do you go? Well, what's that spell do? Let me look it up, right? Old school games, very brief spell descriptions, very brief rules on movement. Even the newer flavored old school games like Deathbringer, Professor Dungeon Master's game, and Shadow Dark have sort of like fuzzy rules. I guess you could say, not fuzzy rules about movement and all that sort of thing, like near, far, close, that whole thing. So not everything is defined, okay? And he says, he breaks it down further, Matt does. He says, basically, when you all sit down to play a game of D&D, you do so with a few social assumptions. You've all spent some time learning the rules to some extent, and the assumption is that the referee is going to follow those rules. You spend time deciding which skills your characters will take and which combat abilities and so on through a fairly long process of character generation. If the referee disregards the way those skills work and the way difficult terrain operates in combat and keeps improvising alternative methods, it feels like they are breaking the social contract of the game table. Exactly. Same thing with jazz and jazz and classical music. Jazz, everybody breaks the rules. I mean, you just get in there, you just jamming away. It's like a jam band, right? If you're like Fish or like the Dead, something like that, you're just jamming away, just riffing off of each other in jazz, right? New school, no. Everything it's systemized. It's everything has a place, just like in a classical orchestra. You can't just start getting up there and just blaring away or slamming the drums. It'll just destroy everything, right? And that's the expectation. If you're going to go to a classical concert, you want to see a seamless orchestra playing whatever the hell they're going to play. Whereas if you go to a jazz show, you don't know what you're going to hear from one show to the next. It could be the same song, same musicians, sound very different, right? I think that's why Zeppelin was so great live. And Zeppelin, they always play things differently. And this is not the Zeppelin is jazz, but you know what I mean. The greatest bands, they go live and it doesn't sound like the album, but it sounds better, different, and it's a little bit different every time you hear them, right? Um, and so Matt goes further and says the crux of old school D&D is that the social contract is different. The referee's main role in old school D&D is to improvise rulings that fit the circumstances. All right, that is true. That is true. And he goes on to elaborate. The modern D&D is like bridge, where the rules are clear, and old school D&D is like tarot card reading, where one person has a highly interpretive role in what's happening. Okay. Improvisation is the key, just like with jazz, just like with classical music. You do not improvise with classical music. And he says there's also a difference in terms of what the players expect, as mentioned earlier. The modern referee is going to feel constrained by the social contract to allow things like dexterity checks when rules call for a dexterity check. The old school referee, since dexterity check isn't a formal part of the rules, isn't breaking the social contract by deciding that you need to tell me whether you're going to cut the blue wire or the red wire to disable the trap, right? So that really is the essence of everything. When a referee in old school games is running the show, he just riffs, right? He uses the input of his players like energy, and he just takes it all in, figures out what's going on, and riffs on whatever the outcome might be. That is it. When he's able to do that, when a DM is able to do that, it makes the game so much more engrossing. Like watch a Shadow Dark game. We're going to be playing every Monday. We play these Shadow Dark games that Tim Schwartz runs on my channel and his channel as well. And he's you can tell he's getting into the flow. Once he got over his roll 20 hurdles and this, he still has them because he's Tim. But he's getting way back into the flow because he hasn't run a game in a couple of years. And so now he's not focusing on moving tokens and the roll 20 mechanics and clicking the right button and all that. Now he's really improvising. Now he's just going with the flow. Now when there's a fumble or something happens, he just makes this thing up in his head. It's, oh yeah, so you shot the arrow, it shot across the room, ricocheted off of here, and it poked this guy in the ass, or I shot this thing and he knocked that thing over. Whatever the case may be, he's just riffing with it, right? And a new school player would be like, well, there's no rule that says a ricocheting arrow can do such a thing. Kiss my ass, man. I'm the DM. I'm the ref. I can do whatever I want. You rolled the one, buddy. I'm just telling you what happened, right? Whereas a new school game, well, it says here, if I roll the one, then this happens, and not that. How could you possibly do it? Well, because I said so. I'm the DM. That's the difference between old school and new school. The old school games, it's jazz. You're playing a performance with a bunch of other people, and you don't know what the hell is going to happen. A new school game, chapter and verse, everything that's going to happen, chapter by chapter in the module, in the adventure modules, and movements, and everything is delegated. There's a rule. If you like that sort of thing, whatever, have at it. But I'm saying, if you want to have a little more fun, you want to have a little more artistic flair, if you want a little more creativity in your games, both from the players and the DM side, jump into the old school. You will not regret it. Okay. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Please do like and subscribe. I'm trying to beat Eric's ass and the 5,000 subscriber count here. So please do like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.